Precision video, so we're on a quest to make video more precise. So wean ourselves off of Nielsen and on to more granular, not 20,000 panel-based approach. So we use video because it's kind of confusing. I think of it as premium TV. Like I am after trying to remake the premium TV marketplace to make it more precise.
So, which leads to the obvious question, which is how have we gotten to a place with so much success and so much cash flow that it's not precise?
Well, there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of people who have business models at stake, who are holding on to the past. There are people who are afraid. But I think if you look back, and I talk about we're 1 decade into a 2-decade transition, but we're probably 2 decades into a 3-decade, maybe 4-decade transition now that I am a little smarter and have 15 years of experience of doing this. But really what's happening is all content is going from something that is physical to something that is digital. And something that is physical is easy to control. And something that is digital is liquid. And it's really hard to hold in your hands and control it, right? So to me, those smallest files go first, and that might be photography. So you have companies that, like Kodak who never responded and now they're not here, right? They failed to imagine Instagram, right? Then you move to the next file size, and that might be a book or a magazine, and you see Borders gone. You see Barnes & Noble struggling. They failed to imagine, what this marketplace was becoming. You see Netflix. You see what happened to Blockbuster. Like, history is repeating itself. It's just moving kind of up the file size. And TV is next. They bought themselves some time because they went from SD to HD to 4K, 8K. We'll see how far we go with this. So they made their product really big and fat, right? So it doesn't stuff down a liquid pipe where it's like free for all. So I debate with our clients and with our executives whether TV will remain in a closed ecosystem. So it's a little more controllable from end to end, from serve to eyes, or it's wide open like the internet. And I think that is a lot of what the confusion in the marketplace is about, is because programmatic was born off of display, right? And some of the rules and the architecture, are different. And TV is working itself out. Is it going to be open? How much data is going to be able to be accessed to be able to build a programmatic, data-driven system? How much automation do we really need? All right, this is a pretty big investment that is fairly easy to be made in comparison to digital.
Right, so which raises the question, so it was what you believed was a 2-decade, now it might be a 3 or 4 decade. So who's the key holder? Who's the one that's holding this back? Is it the content providers? Is it the agencies? Is it a mixture of people not speaking the same language? Is it a lexicon deal? I mean, who's the one entity?
So this is the MVPDs.
Okay.
They are the gatekeepers to the data. That's the key. So I think agencies are really good at optimization. I mean, I know I can speak for my agency. We've won some of the largest accounts in the world because we have an amazing optimizer. Happens to be built off of Nielsen respondent level data. We need to do better than that, right? Okay. The world is giving us more data than that. The problem is it's locked up. It's locked up behind the MVPDs, behind the Dish, the Directs, the Comcast. But up until now, there's been very little that an agency ever had to offer to those players. The dollars weren't that big in terms of spend. But finally, they have put something in market that is worth something to our clients, that is worth a premium to our clients, and that's addressable. So SMG goes to market as I go to market with all of SMG's money. And it is, in an attempt to try and get access to set-top box data so that we can rebuild our amazing optimization and MTA and we have the tools. What we're lacking is the data. That's what's holding it up.
So do you think that
not that there's not going to be a lot of pain once it gets start to flow, so like oversimplify it, but it is clearly lack of data.
So do you think that the smart TV integration and the OEMs would be able to kind of bifurcate some of that problem by releasing data that they have at the glass level and kind of bypassing whatever happens if
you
the
can
FCC
bet
arrives?
I have been in lots of those meetings.
Okay.
I mean, it's really, it would alleviate a pain point, and you get pretty, far into those conversations, whether it be through ACR, whether it be through a mobile device or through the TV itself, whether it's, Samsung or LG. I mean, there's a lot of ways you could actually get at the data. But what is disheartening to me is that there is 100 million boxes right now that we know how to clean and we know how to process. It just needs to start to flow. So I have some pieces of that, some small pieces, they're growing.
Yep.
So I'm excited that we're the first agency to process non-aggregated set-top box data in a PII compliant way with Axiom and our great relationship and partnership we've created with them through their safe haven. So sometimes I get into those meetings, I'm really excited because I might have found a way around this frustration I've had for 15 years. If you just free the data, you'd have the revolution we were all looking for, is to better monetize the content. So sometimes when we go down that route, I'm like, it's going to create more confusion. Because now I'm going to have two different types of data sources, as opposed to we've worked 10 years on set-top box data. This is not new,
right?
Right. Red Track, I think, has figured out how to clean it, right? And I think there's a lot of people who have figured out how to look at it. And introducing Samsung or a Samba, I love because I'm an innovator, but I sometimes worry on the flip side of that, like, do these things fit together? Okay. We are going to pursue them all. We'll see what the answer is.
So ultimately, from the agency side, do you look at TV as video? Are they synonymous? Does it not matter? If you can get down to that addressability where you're talking to a device ID and you actually know specifically who this person is, do you care what screen it's on? Does TV still really matter?
Great question. We do get caught on definitions of a lot of things. And I used to be, well, TV is the good stuff. I don't care what screen it's on, it's the good stuff. Whether I watch Game of Thrones on my iPad or my 6 Plus or the big screen or Netflix, to me, that's TV, right? Okay. We do call ourselves precision video, so I think the market has probably blended those two together. But behind closed doors, I call TV that premium stuff. Okay. And video, to me, also includes things like YouTube and like the deeper tail that's all online video.
Cats on skateboards.
Yeah. So I don't think they should be monetized in the exact same way. I don't think they follow the same rules. I don't think they build brands in the same way. So there is a bit of difference, but I think we're trying to build a system where we can buy all media, whether TV, online video, display, search, like, to me, soon it's just going to be, instead of is it TV or video, it's just media.
So do you feel like that with all the data that we have access to now, which is partially because we didn't have the data before, now we're getting access to some of that more data, do you believe that actually being able to report like on ROI, that we're going to start acting like every other industry does, where you are accountable for the things that you do, regardless of the medium?
Awesome question, totally. So we're there. I think, we are doing on all of our addressable campaigns, we're trying to put in a layer of ROI. Super excited about what we're doing in CPG. But I don't think we're ready to change the business model to be compensated on moving cases. And the reason being, there's still a lot of holes in the data in terms of being able to do ROI completely. So for instance, CPG, there's dunnhumby and Shopcom, and that creates a Swiss cheese, so you got some coverage. But so I send a ad to everyone trying to sell a CPG product, but I can only measure Kroger. Right? Like, so I didn't get proper credit as an agency for doing an amazing job. Yes, it's a positive ROI. Yes, TV works, but I only counted like maybe one of the 3 sales of the toothpaste. So what we want to be able to do is count all the toothpaste sold and then move to an ROI. I think that's where we're going. I mean, that might be the 10 years, the second decade part of it, but we're absolutely doing closed loop analysis on all of our addressable campaigns, or at least the ones where we have access to that type of data.
Okay. So final question, one company other than your own in 2015 that you think is really interesting?
Well, TV actually is not the first innovation that I went through. I've actually been through 2 before, one in healthcare and one in agriculture before I moved on to media. And so I've always been fascinated by change. And the one that I'm interested in is 23andMe. So it's a company, I think, founded out of a relationship with Google, and probably a marriage relationship with Google. And they do something really cool. They swab your mouth, and they are basically sequencing your genetics and trying to understand at the root of health, what causes health issues. And
really?
Yeah, so we're basically putting our genetic information into a big vat, where I'm not actually sure this is what 23andMe does, but I was so intrigued by this space where you're essentially being able to mine genetic information in a PII protected way to solve disease states. It's kind of like what we do in advertising, right? We're putting a bunch of data in the middle and we're trying to figure out what works so that we can build a better media plan. And it's just kind of a more heady thing to think about it as genetics, but it's actually quite similar.